with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, "We saw you on television." I say, "Oh yes, on what?" "On GB News."
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hit me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again. You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good afternoon, it's 1 p.m. on Sunday the 24th of May, and this is The Weekend on GB News with me, Charlie Peters. Now, there's been another surge in small boat crossings. It's unfolding in the Channel right now with migrants attempting that crossing. We're live in Dover as arrivals continue. More than 700 people have already crossed this weekend alone.
And the latest Border Force vessel that has intercepted a small boat just arriving here in port. Over my shoulder, migrants on that boat will be disembarking from that Border Force vessel in the next couple of minutes. We're bringing it to you live on GB News.
And breaking overnight, a gunman has been shot dead after opening fire at a White House security checkpoint while President Donald Trump was inside. And Donald Trump says that a peace deal with Iran has been largely negotiated. As Sir Keir Starmer says Britain will work with allies to secure a long-term settlement. Elsewhere, Reform UK, they're drawing up radical plans to abolish the Cabinet Office and also slash thousands of civil service jobs. So we're asking today, does Whitehall need a complete overhaul? We're also in the midst of a bank holiday heatwave, of course. Temperatures are reaching 30 degrees Celsius in May for the first time since 2012.
Yes, thousands are now flocking in to the seaside town of Newcastle to enjoy the sunshine, the mountains and the ice cream. We'll have more throughout the programme.
It's also a huge day for football fans. It's Premier League survival on the line for Tottenham and West Ham. Spurs face Everton in that relegation showdown. The Hammers, they've got to beat Leeds to keep their hopes of survival alive.
I think you ask any Spurs fan and they're pretty confident that we're going to get relegated. It's been such a bad season. We've just
tragic and comical disaster.
I'm Charlie Peters and this is The Weekend. So wonderful to have your company on this very sunny and lovely Sunday afternoon. I hope you are enjoying some of that beautiful weather today. If you are, do remember, you can take us with you on your radio, online, on YouTube, wherever you like to stream GB News. We'll make sure we'll do that for you. And of course, today is a big day for football. Dawn Neeson, she is on holiday with her family right now, celebrating her mum's birthday. She's a West Ham fan. I'm Tottenham. I'm sitting in for her today. Both of us are very nervous about what's happening this afternoon, but I'm glad she's enjoying some freedom elsewhere. And earlier today, I met this set of brothers, the Coles. There's 2 Spurs fans and 2 West Ham fans. Now, the 2 lads on the left, the Tottenham fans, they got into supporting Spurs because of their dad. And the Hammers, they support West Ham because of their uncle. They are going to the game today, all 4 of them, with their parents. A remarkable family split in Tottenham and West Ham. All smiling. I hope they will be, whatever happens this afternoon. And of course, there's so much going on today. I really hope you can get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. But look, we've got to move on really quickly now because another small boat has just arrived in Dover Port amid the calm weather conditions that we're enjoying, but so too are the people smugglers. So let's cross live now to our national reporter, Will Godley, who is there live for us. Will, what are you seeing?
Well, Charlie, I've just stepped out of vision so you can get a picture of what we're seeing here in Dover Port. On your screens, if you're watching, you are seeing the Border Force vessel Ranger. It has just docked and they'll be going through the process of securing that boat in port, putting the ramp up in order for the passengers on board to get off. And who are on board? Well, people who set off this morning on a small boat from the beaches of Dunkirk just after 4 o'clock this morning. They set off from the beaches in France in their small boat, escorted by a French Navy vessel. They then made it to the halfway mark in the channel about midday today, and that's where they were intercepted by this boat on your screens now. And in that point in the channel is where the people on the small boat, the migrants, disembark their boat, board this Border Force vessel, and then they get brought in. That journey taking about an hour for them to get into port here. And that's not the only action in the port right now at all, because just coming through the port walls, another Border Force vessel as I speak, and this is the Border Force vessel Defender, also picking up, we understand, some more small boat migrants, because these 2 small boats both left the beaches of Dunkirk around within 15-20 minutes of each other, around 4 o'clock this morning. Both of them escorted to the line where they were both met with these Border Force vessels. On your screens now is Border Force vessel Ranger, that one arriving just at 1 o'clock in the next 15 or so minutes. That second vessel will be here as well, as the people on board will then be disembarking and begin that processing here in Dover Port in the marquee just next door. And already this morning there has already been some arrivals already. Roughly 65, Charlie, have arrived here. They arrived here using the same process around 6:30 this morning. That small boat set off in the very early hours of today at around 3 o'clock from the Wimereux beach. Again, they were escorted by the French Navy, arriving here just after 6:30 this morning, bringing the total so far of small boat migrant arrivals for this bank holiday weekend, including Friday, to over 700 now. As the official figures showed, there were yesterday 4 small boats arrived, 287 people on them, and on Friday, of course, just under 400 people arrived. We'll be waiting to see the numbers on this boat and the other boat just coming into port now. But these small boats, around 11 metres long, can carry up to 100 people on them. So potentially as many as 200 more small boat migrants arriving in port in the next half an hour.
So we're closing towards 1,000 crossings just this weekend alone. I know you said another vessel in the water being approached by another Border Force vessel, but we're looking at a Border Force vessel called Defender. And I'm sure lots of our viewers and listeners will be learning about this and think, what is it actually defending? This really is a bit of a taxi service at the moment. We're having an escort from the French Navy and then a ferrying in directly from Border Force Defender.
Well, exactly. That's how the process operates. The government, though, would point out that the number of crossings up to this weekend is down considerably, down by 44% up to this weekend. Of course, with nearly 1,000 looking like there could be this weekend, that number will tick up. But the government, no doubt, insisting their plan is working. They've signed a multi-million-pound deal with the French to crack down on the boats leaving French beaches, and it's unclear whether the boats today actually set sail from Belgium and travelled down the coast before picking up more people in the Dunkirk area, or whether they set sail from Dunkirk. But they definitely left the Dunkirk area around 4 o'clock this morning.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that report. Just goes to show that £600 million deal with the French hasn't even kicked in yet, but already we're seeing some movement towards Belgium, perhaps as those rather sophisticated organised criminal gangs realise they've got other areas they can use. And look, as we're talking about the small boat crossings, a number of illegal migrants arriving in Britain at the moment, there's also growing concern and indeed anger in many communities across the country about how those migrants are being housed across the country. Just breaking this weekend, residents in Surrey and Kent, they say that migrants are being quietly moved into residential neighbourhoods with little warning. Well, joining me now for more on this is the Conservative councillor for Laleham and Shepperton Green in Surrey, and that's Darren Clark. Good afternoon to you, Darren. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon on GB News. Of course, the government, they're talking about how they're getting small boat migrants and what they describe as asylum seekers out of these asylum hotels. But actually, the solution to that is proving just as unpopular with areas because they're moving them into HMOs and other properties a lot of the time in villages around the country.
Good afternoon, Charlie. Absolutely. But people are not stupid. They see the pictures of thousands of people coming over the channel, and they can see that. And then there's a process that gets done. There are some statistics that are released, and then they see lots of people walking around on their high streets and their and local areas, and they're putting two and together, and they're getting fired to a certain extent. We had a recent issue in Spelthorne, where Lincoln Jopp is the MP. We've had the Stanwell Hotel, which was originally housed women and children. It was then closed to that, and it was put over to male men. And then all of a sudden it was reduced the amount, and then you see HMOs being bought up in and around the local area. and undocumented, unregistered people are just appearing on our streets. The issue that we had in Laleham was people didn't know who was coming, that they weren't aware they were coming. And then the first thing they see is that there are people who are standing around harassing school children going to a primary school, which is only about 150 metres away from where the HMO is actually sited. So it's really, it's worrying for many communities across the country.
Seeing some pictures on our screen now, the latest arrivals that GB News has captured this morning and earlier this afternoon. There's growing concern about another village now in Kent that has seen this sudden arrival. Can you talk us through some of the details that you've managed to understand about that situation?
Yeah, so I'm unaware as to the exact aspects of what's going on in Kent, but I'm sure it's a wider problem and all over the place. So I actually live in Shepperton itself, and there are HMOs who are being brought up right in the centre of town, and you see the changes. A large detached house will be it'll be purchased by random people. The Home Office will set up contracts, and then before you know it, you'll see 8 or 10 different doorbells that go on the front door of it, and then all of a sudden, then there are lots of people, and because they have nothing to do, they're very visible in and around the local area. And a lot of these HMOs seem to be in very, very prominent areas, which is quite worrying for local residents.
Darren, we're looking at live pictures right now, Darren, sorry, of another arrival of small boat migrants. This is live footage being captured by our cameraman on the south coast. So these arrivals, dozens more being brought across. They are taxied, as you know, towards the coast after they reach British waters, about halfway across the channel. The people that are on the boat right now, all of them are highly likely to be a net drain on our resources. All of them are highly likely to be dispersed around the country into local communities. And there's a decent chance they'll be here for several years. So slow have been the removals process. Now, the government say they've been speeding that up, that some people have been returned quickly. But the vast majority of small boat migrants stay in the country for quite a while. Darren, what we're looking at right now on our screens, these live pictures in Dover, I mean, that is just an incoming sort of economic and security threat. That's how most communities will see it.
Absolutely. There's the irony of the queues at Dover in order to get out because everybody needs to be documented, and then at the same time you've got thousands of people coming in who are entirely undocumented, and I think there's a lack of trust of the process, where there's just not enough scrutiny that's actually delivered on the people that are coming through, and people feel that they're feeling very vulnerable in their own locations, that just bit by bit that their normal way of life seems to be changing, and it seems that there's nothing they can do about it. So people are feeling very frustrated across the country.
Darren Clark, you are a Conservative councillor for Laleham and Shepperton Green in Surrey. Thank you very much for your insight this afternoon. We're just seeing those latest arrivals into Dover. I say a resident from Kent, where there's been these dispersals, speaking to The Sun, said, I'm gutted. That was Janet Howard saying, this is such a lovely place to live. It's a community. There are a few young ones about, but they won't be able to hang out like they used to due to the arrivals from this dispersal scheme. Well, let's cross back to our national reporter, Will Godley, who is watching from the cliff tops in Dover as another boat comes into Dover Port. And Will, is that Border Force Ranger now bringing in more small boat migrants? Talk us through it.
Well, Charlie, what we're seeing now are the migrants on board Border Force Ranger disembarking. Border Force Ranger got to the first small boat just about midday today at the halfway mark of the English Channel, and that's where those migrants on board their small boat boarded this Border Force vessel and were brought in, and not too far behind it, about 20 minutes or so, was the Border Force vessel Defender, and that's that's what we are seeing now in the port. Do what looks like a 180, 360 degree spin, and the same process will happen. But I can see the disembarkation of those small boat migrants from that first boat, and the same thing will happen again from the second boat, and they then go into the marquee where the processing takes place. Both of these small boats set off from the Dunkirk area of France just around 4 o'clock in the morning, so taking them a rather long time to get to the halfway mark in the channel. We don't know why it took them so long, whether they are particularly heavily laden, whether it was high winds perhaps, or whether the engine was just perhaps not going as quickly as some other ones do, but no doubt they wanted to make that journey here, and they have made the journey here to Dover. As I'm looking out to try to see what's going on at the moment with that disembarkation almost finishing, still some people crossing the courtyard as I'm seeing, and that second boat just behind it docking now.
And we're just seeing that movement there. There'll be this processing experience now taking place nearby at Manston, which will take place. I see that's moving around. These border force vessels, I mean, so many of our audience on gbnews.com/yours say, calling it border farce, referring to the fact this is a process where they just pick people up in the middle of the channel. There will be a great sense of frustration felt across the country when people see these live scenes of people just being brought into the country. As soon as they reach the halfway point, immediately taxied over. The government say they're doing more to crack down on this, don't they, Will Godley? They're talking about the statistics and the changes compared to last year. But as our Home and Security editor, Mark White, always says, the best preventative method that we have at the moment isn't really a method at all. It's just luck. It's the weather. And at the moment, while we're enjoying this good weather, that's also being enjoyed by the people smugglers and those who want to cross into Britain illegally. Well, Will Godley, thank you very much for your live coverage. We'll be coming back to you shortly if there are any further developments. Right, it's 17 minutes past 1, and as you've been listening and seeing, we are in for a scorcher today. It's only expected to get hotter. Today is predicted to be the warmest day of the year so far. Temperatures rising above 30 degrees Celsius in some parts of the country. And tomorrow, temperatures could hit highs of 33 degrees in parts of the southeast of England. Well, our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie, joins us live from County Down. He's away from the hills where he was this morning. What a beautiful backdrop that was, Doogie. But great to see you moving around today. Our correspondent, Will Godley, he's enjoying the sun by watching small boat crossings. I imagine you're having a much more pleasant time out in County Down.
Yes. Yeah, we're here in Newcastle, and we're not watching small boats, of course. We are watching families. Hundreds and hundreds of families arriving in after leaving their places of worship on a Sunday. This town has really came to life. And behind me, you can see, looking down the high street in Newcastle, we've came away from the beach, and as you said, the Mourne Mountains, they're just in front of me. To the side of me is indeed the shoreline, and just out round here, you can see the little boat parks, lakes and everything there for everyone to come along here. They'll be full up very, very shortly, and people will be enjoying them and ice creams as they go. But a real family atmosphere here in Northern Ireland. Now, we're not going to get temperatures into the 30s here, but let's face it, anything out of the teens in Northern Ireland is a hot day, and people like to come along and talk about lots of things, weather, etc. But right now, we have people right out across the UK, and in London this morning, we managed to have a word with a few people to find out what they thought about the weather.
We're Londoners, we will complain about anything, but I do not think we should be complaining about this beautiful weather. I prefer wearing a big coat. I prefer the rain and the snow. I'm not fit for this weather at all.
No, we can't say it's too hot. We're English people. As soon as the sun comes out, you've got to enjoy it. You never know when the rain's going to come back.
Yeah, we love it. Yeah. It's always better when the sun's out.
I would love some aircon right now.
I would prefer to be somewhere else, actually. On the beach, maybe, no?
Thank God it's here, finally, the hot weather. So definitely not too hot. Could be even hotter. We're loving it.
I'm never too hot. Never too hot. No, loved it.
People there, some complaining, some loving it, but let's face it, why go to Dover to be caught in all that traffic when you can holiday at home? Look at this, it is absolutely beautiful. Must say, I have counted so many motorhomes going in here. Motorcycles, there's probably about 2,000 motorcycles just up the road in front of me. Those people coming right from up the east coast of Northern Ireland, travelling right down, some of them coming from as far away as Portrush, taking that coast road right down into this part of South Down. It is beautiful here, Charlie. I spent a lot of time here as a child, and indeed brought my children here on Sunday night. So a lot of good memories here, but the crowds are continuing to come in, and we'll catch up with a few of them in the next hour.
Wonderful stuff, Dougie Beattie. That is a great road, isn't it? From Portrush all the way down to County Down. I'm sure there'll be quite a few surfers off the north coast of Northern Ireland today. Perhaps we'll get you down there next time. Test your surfing out when there's another lovely day of hot weather for you, Dougie Beattie. Pleasure speaking to you this afternoon. We'll speak to you later as well. Right, you're with me, Charlie Peters, on GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show because Reform UK has unveiled plans to scrap the Cabinet Secretary role and slash thousands of civil service jobs. But would a Whitehall shake-up save taxpayers' money, or would it cause chaos at the heart of government? All that and much more to come. You're with me on GB News, Britain's news channel. See you in a moment.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Weekend with me, Charlie Peters, sitting in for Dawn Neeson, who's finally getting a bit of a break. Right, let's cross live now to our national reporter, Will Godley. We're going to rejoin him down in Dover because, Will, we're well over 800 crossing this weekend now, and that's Border Force vessel Defender now docking alongside Ranger, that was picking up small boat migrants earlier. Are we now closing in on over 900 crossings this weekend?
Well, potentially we could be about to pass that mark. Currently, we are around 829 small boat migrants arriving here Friday, Saturday and today, Sunday, because Ranger, as we showed you just in the last 10, 15 minutes or so, has just docked. Those on board, those small boat migrants, have disembarked, and we have the numbers who were on board. I can tell you that there were 83 small boat migrants on board the Border Force vessel Ranger that just docked in the port of Dover. They have just disembarked. Among them, there were 15 women and 7 children, which my producer Chris here tells me is rather odd. Often, of course, in the pictures that he sees, regularly it's men on these boats. So a number of women and children making that crossing today. And the boat you're seeing now that's just docked and the disembarkation process will take place now is the Border Force vessel Defender. Now, both of these were in the same area of the English Channel just about 90 minutes ago, where both small boats almost travelling somewhat together, both set off within about 20 minutes of each other just after 4 o'clock this morning from the Dunkirk area, travelling to the halfway mark under a French naval escort, travelling to the halfway mark of the English Channel, where they are picked up by these 2 boats here, and that disembarkation process just now beginning. I'm seeing here, I'm sure you can see the live pictures now, you can see them with the orange life vests on, just walking around from the front of the boat down the side, and then they will then, once the Border Force officials ready, go down the ramp and cross the courtyard into the processing centre. But no doubt with that number currently 829, around that, after around 65 migrants arrived on an earlier boat at just after 6:30 this morning, we could see, Charlie, if there are any similar numbers, around 900, give or take, arriving just by the end of today, if not by the end of this hour.
Well, Godley, thank you very much for that update. A pretty bleak one, of course, as we close in over 900. And our producer, Chris, will, of course, as he has done for several years, keep counting them in as these numbers just keep rising. Well, Godley, we will cross back to you later when we have more. Right, it's 28 minutes past 1. Let's go back to some more domestic matters now, because Reform UK have said today that they will scrap the Cabinet Office and the role of Cabinet Secretary if they were to be elected at the next general election. Well, in a document made by Danny Kruger, the Reform UK MP, outlined major civil service reforms that would include cutting around 50% of communications, HR and policy roles. Well, joining me now is the former editor of Labour List, Peter Edwards. Good afternoon to you, Peter. Your reaction, please, to these proposals from Reform UK. I know that Labour have struggled to get some policy over the line with civil servants since the last election. Do you see some good reasons for these proposals?
No, I think what Reform are saying is an ideological attack on the independence of the civil service. And if you look at how Reform local authorities have done, we were promised Elon Musk-style Doge reforms. That was the Department of Government Efficiency in the US. Once Reform got into power in a handful of local authorities in England, they quickly found life was a lot more complex, and they couldn't save hundreds of millions of pounds simply by cutting budgets for diversity, equity, inclusion, which they wanted to do. I think Reform need to say something to keep themselves in the headline. There's nothing wrong with that. The nature of being an opposition party is you need to do announcements. So, you know, that's fair enough. That's just how the game works. But it's not just, I think this would be deeply unwise. I suspect it will never happen.
Well, Peter, last week, the largest trade union voted to double its financial reserves to fund strike action if there were to be a deeply hostile reform government. He's Nigel Farage. He's previously proposed cuts of about 70,000 roles. The civil servants, a lot of them are basically talking as if they don't want to do their jobs if reform come into power. Is this collision course pretty much guaranteed, regardless of proposals made by reform to cut down on the number of civil servants?
No, I don't think a collision course is guaranteed at all. And of course, I recognise in some parts of society there's an appetite for the culture wars. But I'd say a couple of things. First of all, nearly all incoming governments have pledged to either rewire the civil service at the more moderate end or disrupt it entirely, almost break it to pieces at the other end, and reform was certainly end of that. And in neither case it's happened. And every time you hear ex-ministers, ex-MPs, so-called grandees on the radio, they end up being enormously fluent and complimentary when they talk about civil service. The other point I'd make is a much wider one. Reform's premise is we might be taking over a car, that's the UK government, and the car speaks to the person, the mechanic who built that car, i.e. the head of the civil service. In fact, proposing to ditch the role of the head of the civil service won't help you achieve your objectives. Now, I don't want reform's objectives to be achieved anyway, because I think they're either fancy land or I just disagree with them. But if they want to get into power and rewire government, then getting rid of the senior civil servants who understand how government is wired will make that job harder.
There is a concern, Peter, being expressed by Labour folk such as yourself that there could be, from reform, a more politicised civil service. But of course, the criticism that's often made is the civil service not already quite politicised? And what they want is people they can put into the top roles to guarantee that their proposals will be pushed through. We're seeing a lot more radicalism in British politics at the moment, and perhaps there's a fear, perhaps quite legitimate, that more radical proposals, particularly around immigration, for example, or cutting welfare, won't be accepted or will be frustrated, perhaps, by some civil servants. I mean, are you not personally concerned by the voting to prepare for strike action under a reform government? I'm afraid Peter Edwards is gone. We're not going to get an answer to that question.
No.
Oh, he's back.
I'm far more concerned by some of the things I hear from reform. But let's bear it.
Oh, Peter, I think we're going to leave it there. I got a no from you, but that's where it'll end. OK, well, look, it's 32 minutes past 1. Loads more coming up here on The Weekend with me, Charlie Peters. But first, let's cross over to Sophia Wensler, who's got your latest news headlines.
Charlie, thank you. It's 1:33, your top stories. There could be good news on the Strait of Hormuz within hours, according to US Secretary of State. It comes after US President Donald Trump said last night that an agreement with Iran has been largely negotiated, including reopening the key shipping lane. Meanwhile, here in the UK, Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed the apparent progress towards a long-term US-Iran agreement. Over 100 small boat migrants have arrived on border force vessels in Dover today as calm weather continues. Yesterday, more than 300 migrants arrived into UK waters, while 400 crossed on Friday. Nigel Farage has vowed to make work pay with a new pledge to axe income tax on overtime. If Reform UK wins the next general election, people who earn less than £75,000 and work overtime above a 40-hour week will pay no income tax on the extra hours. 3 new cases of Ebola have been declared in Uganda, bringing the total number of confirmed cases there to 5. It comes as the Democratic Republic of Congo's football team and staff have been told to isolate before travelling to the US for the World Cup. Those are your headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Sophia. And remember, let me know all your thoughts on all the stories we've been discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/your say. You can join in the conversation, scan the QR code on your screens now. Let me know where you are watching and listening to today's programme. And I hope you are enjoying the sun while doing so. Well, look, there's loads more coming up today because there's going to be some more coverage of that drama in Washington overnight. A gunman opened fire near the White House while Donald Trump was inside, and the US president was simultaneously claiming that a peace deal with Iran is now largely negotiated. That could have huge ramifications on the British economy and indeed our security. Loads more to come here. I'm Charlie Peters. Don Neesom's away. You're watching GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the hot and sunny weather continues for most of the UK once again today. High levels of UV, so strong sunshine for many, but a different story in the far northwest. Here we have this wiggling weather front bringing some cloud and outbreaks of rain for the northwest of Scotland. High pressure dominates though across the rest of the UK, and that means it will be a fine day to come once again, with the exception perhaps some Irish Sea coast where we'll see just a little bit of low cloud lingering into this afternoon, possibly on some of our coastlines. Blue skies though and strong sunshine elsewhere across England, Wales, southern Scotland and most of Northern Ireland. Temperatures higher than yesterday, 32 degrees in the southeast of England, but the high 20s quite widely elsewhere across England and Wales. Now, it is a different story across more northern parts of Scotland. Here we do have much more in the way of cloud, still a fairly brisk southwesterly breeze across the Hebrides, so outbreaks of rain, quite a damp picture actually across the Highlands and the islands as we go through the course of today, and even so into the evening as well. We will run into much sunny conditions though across the south of Scotland, Northern Ireland and the bulk of England and Wales, so a fine, warm and sunny evening to come here. Light winds, but some refreshing sea breezes perhaps around the coast. Do take care in that strong sunshine as it will be quite hot for the time of year. Through this evening and overnight it stays dry and clear for the most of the UK, and temperatures won't fall very far at all, possibly not falling below 20 degrees Celsius, which we determine as a tropical night. Quite unusual and very unusual for May. So temperatures remaining in the mid to high teens for many, and quite a warm start to the day on Monday. Now, we still have this weather front bringing some outbreaks of rain and much thicker cloud across the very far northwest of Scotland. That's not going to go very far at all on Monday, but for most of the UK it's going to be another sunny and very hot day once again. Temperatures even higher than today, 34 Celsius in the southeast of England, probably the warmest day on record for May.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Weekend with me, Charlie Peters. Now let's go back to Dover quickly. We've got some more news to bring you. A third vessel has arrived in Dover today. The last one, which was Border Force vessel Defender, had 74 small boat migrants on it. So that's taken the total number of migrants making that illegal crossing, being brought into Dover, arriving this weekend to 903. And this is the third day, we're expecting, of 4 bumper days of crossing amid the good weather. But there you see Border Force vessels Ranger and Defender. Defender, the furthest away, has just disembarked 74 arrivals. So 220 have arrived today. That's taking us now over 900. There is reasonable weather for the rest of today, possibly also tomorrow as the heat stays high and the wind stays low. So there's a very strong possibility we could be having 1,000 crossings over this bank holiday weekend. But the breaking news we can bring you now, 903 have arrived since Friday. Right, now, breaking overnight, a gunman was shot dead after opening fire at a White House security checkpoint while the US President Donald Trump was inside. Now, one bystander was also injured in the exchange. Now, the shooting comes as Trump was claiming a major peace deal with Iran had been largely negotiated, raising hopes that the Strait of Hormuz could finally soon reopen and ease the global energy crisis and cost of living crisis and so many other supply chain crises. Well, we're joined now by the US political journalist Laurie Laird, who is live for us. Laurie, thank you so much for jumping on to GB News this afternoon. I hope you're well. So what can you tell us quickly about this situation overnight in Washington? It seems so regular now that we're hearing about violent incidents around the US president.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it looks like the Secret Service did exactly what they were supposed to do. This gunman was never that close to the White House, although close enough that reporters inside the White House heard the shots. And we've seen some, footage of reporters, jumping under tables and things like that, similar to what we saw a month ago at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But I think we can say quite confidently that all of the checks worked here, all of the security measures worked here. That gunman was nowhere near the White House. But I do think that there probably are questions to be asked about the performance of the Secret Service. After that White House Correspondents' Dinner, we had so many government officials stand up and say, and praise the Secret Service. But I think I had some big questions about why so many dignitaries, now I'm referring to that White House Correspondents' Dinner a month ago, why so many dignitaries were in a hotel that couldn't, by definition, be fully secured. That comes a couple of years after that terrible incident in Butler, Pennsylvania, where a gunman actually hit the president. There were certainly some failures there. So while we hear from the top brass or the top government officials that they are pleased with the security's performance when they're guarding the president, I think that civilians probably have questions that they could have answered.
Yeah, many questions to answer there, but also quite a few, Laurie, on this ongoing peace deal process, the war in Iran. We're hearing from Marco Rubio.
There, absolutely.
Yeah, Marco Rubio is saying that we could have news in the next few hours. He's speaking to reporters in New Delhi. Now, obviously, the main focus for most of the world is the Strait of Hormuz. But what we're hearing from reports in the US is that there could be a handover of the uranium stockpile from the Iranians. And that's, of course, a big ambition for both the Israelis and the United States.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it's a lot of questions. And certainly Rubio's comments seem to point a little bit more toward a deal on Hormuz and then other issues as well. But I thought, reading between the lines on Rubio's statement, that the big announcement that they'd like to make today, and I think they've box themselves in. We're going to have to see some kind of an announcement. But I think what he would like to do was something on the Strait of Hormuz, opening that up a little bit. And that is an area of concern to anybody who heats their home or drives a car. He did seem to suggest that there could be other issues on the table there or to be discussed. And as you say, there have been some U.S. media reports on some kind of handover of nuclear material. But I think what the analysts want to know, what politicians across the world want to know is, what are the real details of that transfer of nuclear material if that is announced? How would that differ from the JCPOA? That was the deal that Barack Obama negotiated in 2015, and that was what was torn apart by Donald Trump, who will be monitoring things. So I think there'll be a lot of questions, and neither the Iranians nor the Americans up to this point have been great with detail. When we get news of a deal from this administration, we get broad strokes, but we don't tend to get sort of nitty-gritty details. I'd be surprised if we get anything like that today. And I think one more thing to mention is, I think that the world is united in the folly of allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon. But Iran has learned something very important from this conflict, and that's the importance of geography. How Iran can, by blockading the Strait of Hormuz, by reducing the amount of oil that's getting to international markets, that's a really potent weapon, nuclear or not.
Absolutely. Well, Laurie Laird, thank you so much for your analysis. That's the US political journalist Laurie Laird joining us this afternoon on GB News. Thank you, Laurie. Have a great day. Right, you're with me, Charlie Peters, and there's lots more coming up on today's show. It is, of course, a massive afternoon of football with Premier League survival on the line. I don't really want to talk about it or think about it, to be honest, but Spurs or West Ham, one of them is going down. Please, Lord, keep Spurs safe. Right, but if you are in search of some holiday sun, why on earth would you be doing that? Look out the window, it's gorgeous. But if you are, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
If you're heading to the Mediterranean for the half-term holidays, don't forget to pack the sun cream and sun hat, because there's full amounts of sunshine right across the board, courtesy of high pressure that's in charge, much like here in the UK. The one exception to the rule is further towards the east. There are some heavy showers lingering around parts of Greece, but more especially so into Turkey, though those will tend to ease off as we head towards the middle part of the week, and really is sunshine that's going to be the main prevailing factor.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Neil, my partner, I don't drive anymore, but my partner Neil was driving, and we'd been to have a manicure and a pedicure, which one always does on a particular day, and we were coming back home, and we would turn the corner onto a busy road, which is a dual carriageway near the Tower of London, and Neil suddenly stopped behind a car, which was letting some people off into a hotel. And then I said, move, because the car moved in front. And Neil said, it's dead. There's nothing happening. And the whole car just sort of stopped. And I tried to open the door, and I couldn't open the door. I tried to open the window, couldn't open the window. We couldn't do the hazard lights. And cars were zooming down this road at about 40 to 50 miles an hour. Now, it was a 20-mile-an-hour limit to this road, which is important, because Neil rang the insurance. The insurance gave the RAC a number, and we then communicated with them. And this was at 5:45 in the evening. And they said, we'll be with you between 12 and 2 a.m. So we panicked. There was a terrible panic because cars were zooming down, moving out into the road to not bump into us. And I was really panicking. And what happened next was that when we decided we couldn't get out, I then rang the police. Now, the police, I spoke to this girl, and this police girl said, no, we can't come and collect you, I'm afraid. I said, I'm terrified. And she said, no, sorry, we can't come and collect you. It was just so frustrating.
GB News, the People's Channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Charlie Peters. And it is, of course, a massive day of football. Premier League survival is on the line for two clubs. Tottenham face Everton in a relegation showdown, while the Hammers must beat Leeds to keep their hopes alive. Well, we've been out and about today asking people who they hope stay up.
I think you ask any Spurs fan and they're pretty confident that we're going to get relegated. It's been such a bad season. We've just
tragic and comical disaster.
I actually want West Ham to go down. Oh, because they make it so difficult for Arsenal. I support Arsenal.
Pretty sure it's going to be West Ham, but I wouldn't mind seeing Spurs going down. It'd be funny seeing a big side going down. Like
Spurs to get relegated. And I say that as a Reading fan, so I don't even have any interest in the Premier League. But you speak to the vast majority of neutrals and they would love Spurs to get relegated.
I wish both teams good luck.
I like that last man. Right, let's speak to our very own Aidan McGee's in the studio with us now. Aidan,
how are you feeling,
I'm very hesitant to say anything because I know if things do go badly this afternoon, it'll be clipped up and played back to me more than a few times.
Yeah, it probably will.
But I feel quite nervous.
Yeah, I bet you do. But look, if you've got to avoid
situation.
defeat against an Everton side who haven't won a game in 6, look, they're stubborn. They've got David Moyes as their manager. You know, will he be minded to do West Ham a favour? They're capable of sitting in at Spurs, of course they are. But if all you've got to do is avoid defeat, even if you lose, West Ham have still got to beat Leeds. Leeds are a decent side. In fact, Leeds could end up finishing something like 12th or 13th. That's very good for them. And credit to their manager, Daniel Farke, as well, because he's written off left, right and centre at the start of the season. But, I mean, you look at the issues around Tottenham, not just this season, but just this week. I mean, what do you think of the captain and his behaviour? Christian Romero, we've got a shot in a moment from we'll have a word with Roberto De Zerbi talking about that. He was quite circumspect about it, just because for all the problems he's caused this season, not many of them have been under the watch of the new manager. I also think that, you know, when you're the captain, you think of Cristiano Ronaldo, right? He gets suspended in the semi-final of Euro 2016. He then is on the touchline cheering on his compatriots to victory against France in the final. John Terry, exactly. He even got his full kit on.
Wearing the kit,
but for Christian Romero to go home, all right, he's got a big game with his local side or whatever to win the league. But personally, I think he should be there. Let's listen to what Roberto De Zerbi had to say when probed on that earlier this week.
I want to be clear. I'm not stupid. If I understand there is any player or some player who thinks for himself before the club, I can't be the same Roberto, no? But with Cuti Romero, I can't say nothing because with me, in my time, he has been correct.
Now, the last thing a modern football manager can do, Charlie, as you well know, is criticise the player too much. They have to really be strong in their convictions before they do that. It needs to be a wider discussion because you can't criticise a player and let everyone know that he's a bad egg when you know you've got to sell him. He's got, 3 years left on his contract. They need to get a fee for him. He's unlikely to be around next season. So you have to be quite circumspect around them. But I think his body language told everything there. Roberto De Zerbi expected him to be there, and he's not, and he's furious. But they have to concentrate on the game in hand today. As for West Ham, look, again, not really much form. They had some bad luck against Arsenal the other week, but they looked rotten against Newcastle. And I just think that Leeds at home today might be a bridge too far for them. And that's why you can see a scenario where both teams don't win, but Tottenham still stay up.
I think that is in a realm of possibility, a double lot. Both clubs have...
You're shivering, aren't you?
I don't want to... honestly, this is the one section of this programme I was really dreading, to be honest. Not because of you, Aidan. You're a lovely company as ever.
Let's mention Hull City, shall we?
Please,
because from
take me away from it.
Spygate emerged a side who had a transfer embargo earlier in the season. They finished 21st in the Championship last season. They were even beaten twice by QPR, for goodness sake. So let's just focus on them because they got the job done in, the 4th or 5th minute of added time. I think it's a comfortable outcome. I'm not saying it's the right result, but I think Southampton were really, really ruthlessly dealt with. I'm not comfortable with the fact that Middlesbrough were in the top 2 all season, most of the season. They then had the semi-finals to get through, and they had yesterday 3 opportunities to get to the Premier League. They didn't take them. Great club, though they are. And let's hear from the coach Sergei Yakirovich, because he's not going to Vegas, unlike his players.
This is a players trip for the players. No, I will be with my family in Croatia. We have beautiful coast there, so a lot of British people coming there. So I will be in Croatia, and they go to Vegas. You know what happened in Vegas, stay in Vegas. So this is not for me. Yeah.
Aidan, great company as per. Right, time for the weather. See you in a moment.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the hot and sunny conditions are set to continue through the next few days. Indeed, we are likely to see record-breaking temperatures for May, but it is a different story across the very far northwest of the UK. Here we have a weak, wiggling weather front affecting the northwest of Scotland, but you see this dome of high pressure bringing the fine and hot conditions elsewhere in the UK. So a fine evening to come, sunny conditions across many parts of Northern Ireland, Southern Scotland, England and Wales, and temperatures only very slowly falling away. So a warm night to come, indeed temperatures perhaps not falling below 20 degrees Celsius in some of our bigger urban areas, so very unusual for May. Something a little bit cooler further north, temperatures perhaps dipping down into high single figures locally, but a dry and clear night to come for the vast majority. Across the northwest of Scotland, though, we'll continue to see cloud and outbreaks of rain continuing across the northwest. So here a little bit breezy as well in the northwest, and I think there will be quite a bit of low cloud coming into the Western Highlands. So a damp start to the day on Monday for the islands and Western Scotland. Otherwise, though, Southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, England and Wales will get off to a blue sky and sunny start to the day on Monday, and it's going to be an even hotter day to come for many compared to over the weekend. So temperatures rapidly rising in that strong May sunshine. Do take precautions if you are out and about enjoying your bank holiday Monday, because the sunshine is very strong, very high levels of UV, and there will be quite a bit more in the way of pollen across the south of the UK by the afternoon as well. Temperatures reaching a high of 34 degrees Celsius in London, which is likely to be a new record for May for the UK. A bit cooler, but still warm further north across the UK. Temperatures into the low 20s for many parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, as we go into the middle to latter part of the week, we could just see that heat spark one or two isolated thunderstorms across England and Wales on Tuesday and Wednesday, and one or two extra showers perhaps in places on Thursday. Temperatures might fall away slightly later in the week, but staying very warm.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on Sunday the 24th of May. This is the weekend on GB News. Now, a third boat has crossed the channel today amid soaring temperatures in Britain. We're live in Dover as arrivals continue over the bank holiday weekend, with more than 900 making that a legal crossing in the last 2 days.
Yeah, 2 Border Force vessels in the last hour arriving here, both of them carrying small boat migrants on it. That means so far today 3 loads of arrivals have arrived here in Dover, meaning 222 small boat migrants have arrived today so far.
And overnight in the United States, a gunman has been shot dead after opening fire at a White House security checkpoint while President Donald Trump was inside. And the president has also said that a peace deal with Iran has been largely negotiated, as Keir Starmer has said that Britain will work with allies to secure a long-term settlement. Elsewhere today, young people are being trapped on benefits instead of being helped into work. That's the warning from former Labour Minister Alan Milburn. So we're asking today, has Britain created a welfare system that's failing a generation? As I'm sure you know, we are in the midst of a bank holiday heatwave. Temperatures are reaching 30 degrees in May for the first time since 2012.
Sea, sunshine, sand and the mountains of Mourne. Thousands of families have flocked to the county downtown of Newcastle to enjoy this glorious weather. We'll have more throughout the programme.
I'm Charlie Peters. Dawn Neeson is away. You're watching The Weekend on GB News Today. So much to get through over the next hour. It really is a jam-packed hour of news and views, and very keen to take you with me as we go through it all. And you know, the best way to get in touch, of course, is gbnews.com/yoursay. Join in the conversation live, and you can scan the QR code on your screens now if you are a bit nervous about typing for whatever reason. Plenty to get stuck into today. I really want to hear about where you are watching or listening to the programme today, especially if you are enjoying this lovely weather and you are out and about. I also would be very keen to hear your perspective about what we've been talking about all weekend. This perspective from Alan Milburn about young people not getting into work because they're trapped on a very generous benefit system. He's also talking about smartphones. Where do you think the blame lies? Is it our economy? Is it social media? Is it a mixture of all of that and mass immigration? Get in touch, gbnews.com/yoursay. Right, loads to get stuck into. Before we do so, Sophia Wenzer has all of your latest news headlines.
Charlie, thank you. Our headlines at 3 minutes past 2. There could be good news on the Strait of Hormuz within hours, according to the US Secretary of State. Speaking to reporters during his visit to New Delhi, Marco Rubio said significant progress has been made on the situation in Iran. It comes after US President Donald Trump said last night that an agreement with Iran has been largely negotiated, including reopening the key shipping lane. Meanwhile, here in the UK, Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed the apparent progress towards a long-term US-Iran agreement, saying we need to see an arrangement that brings the conflict to an end and reopens the Strait of Hormuz. He added that it was vital Iran never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. The Iranian president has said they are ready to reassure the world that the country does not want a nuclear weapon. GB News can reveal that over 900 small boat migrants have now arrived illegally since Friday. It's as more than 200 made the crossing today as calm waters continue. It takes the total arriving by small boat to 7,600 so far this year. However, the number of arrivals is down 44% on this time last year and 23% on the same point in 2024. A gunman has been shot dead by Secret Service agents near the White House after he reportedly pulled a weapon from a bag and opened fire. 21-year-old Nazir Best is understood to have had a history of mental health issues and was known to authorities, according to Fox News. A second person, believed to be a bystander, was also injured in the shooting and is reported to be in a critical condition. Authorities are now investigating the circumstances surrounding the attack. Donald Trump has reacted to the incident in a post to his Truth Social platform. The US president thanked law enforcement for their swift and professional action. Vladimir Putin's attack on Kyiv and other cities has shown his weakness, according to Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper. It's after Ukraine was hit by a hypersonic missile and a drone barrage. 4 people were killed in Kyiv and its surrounding areas in retaliation for Ukraine's strikes on civilian targets in Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the capital was the main target, but other areas were also hit, with at least 83 people injured. 3 new cases of Ebola have been declared in Uganda, bringing the total number of confirmed cases there so far to 5, while the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is the main centre of the outbreak, has 750 suspected cases and 177 deaths. It comes as the DRC's football team and staff have been told to isolate before travelling to the US for the World Cup. Channel 4 has reportedly held talks with Hugh Edwards about a documentary in which the disgraced presenter would tell his side of the story. In 2024, he pleaded guilty to receiving and making indecent images of children, with some of the most serious Category A, while he also groomed a vulnerable teenager, sending him tens of thousands of pounds in exchange for explicit images and videos. Now, Channel 4 has discussed the possibility of airing Edwards' documentary, according to the Times newspaper. The publicly owned broadcaster is already embroiled in another scandal over the reality show Married at First Sight UK, after 2 unidentified women claimed they were raped by their on-screen husbands during filming. Channel 4 has been contacted for comment. Get your sun cream at the ready as we're in for the hottest day of the year so far. Yesterday marked the first time since 2012 that temperatures hit 30 degrees in May, and it's not about to cool down anytime soon. A heatwave is expected to officially be declared for parts of the UK, with an amber health alert in force for parts of the Midlands and Eastern England until at least Wednesday. GB News has been speaking to Londoners trying to keep cool in the heat.
We're Londoners, we will complain about anything, but I do not think we should be complaining about this beautiful weather. I prefer wearing a big coat. I prefer the rain and the snow. I'm not fit for this weather at all.
No, we can't say it's too hot. We're English people. As soon as the sun comes out, you've got to enjoy it. You never know when the rain's going to come back.
Yeah, we love it. Yeah. It's always better when the sun's out.
I would love some aircon right now.
I would prefer to be somewhere else, actually. On the beach, maybe, no?
Thank God it's here, finally, the hot weather. So definitely not too hot. Could be even hotter. We're loving it.
I'm never too hot. Never too hot. No, loved it.
Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Charlie.
Thank you so much, Sophia, and so many of you already getting in touch on gbnews.com/your say. I've heard from Ian, who said, I'm stuck in my shop working. It's a manic Bury St Edmund's Day. It's a huge bank holiday market on for 2 days. Although, Ian, you have called me Charles. I know I sound like a Charles, but my name is actually Charlie. It's on my passport and all. Many people are shocked by that, but I'm a real Charlie. And I've also heard from another Tim saying, I've got a cold one, chilling in the shade, but watching GB News. Tim Dartmore, you know what you are doing. Right, it's 8 minutes past 2. It's shaping up to be another busy day in the Channel, with 2 small boats arriving on British shores in the last hour. That's bringing the total to 3 crossing today. More than 900 people have crossed into the UK on that illegal crossing this weekend, thanks largely to the hot temperatures and calm waters. It's been another busy day in the Channel, and joining us now is the GB News national reporter Will Godley, who has all the latest. Will, it's been a busy couple of days for you on the cliffs of Dover. What's the latest?
Well, Charlie, yeah, good afternoon to you from Dover, where it's hot, it's sunny, the sea's calm, and all of that being taken advantage of by the people smugglers sending out small boats en masse this weekend. Now, the last 3 days, more than 900 small boat migrants arriving here in the port of Dover, almost doubling the total for May so far. And the hot weather continuing today and into tomorrow, so likely that number could increase. But what's happened here today? Well, it's been a very busy last hour or so. We brought it to you live on GB News, but just a reminder of what happened. 2 Border Force vessels arrived here in the port, both of them carrying small boat migrants. The first to arrive was the Border Force vessel Ranger just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. On board there were 83 small boat migrants, including 15 women and 7 children, according to our GB News provisional figures. And then some 20 minutes or so later, we saw arrive and dock in port the Border Force vessel Defender. On that boat, there were 74 small boat migrants, among them 10 women and 3 children, including a tiny baby being carried off the boat as well. Now, both of those vessels met small boats in the channel around midday at the halfway mark between England and France, and the small boats they were meeting arrived arrived around midday, but they set off from the French coast around the Dunkirk area just after 4 o'clock in the morning. So taking some 8 or so hours battling strong tides to get to that halfway mark. But earlier on in the much earlier hours of the morning as well, another small boat made the crossing as well, as you say, Charlie, taking today's total to 3. That small boat set off from the Wimereux area of France just after 3 o'clock in the morning. It was met by Border Force vessels in the channel and escorted those migrants brought here for processing, roughly 65 on that boat. And so, as you say, bringing today's total to just over 220, and the total for the last 3 days to over 900, as 394 small boat migrants arrived on 6 boats on Friday, 287 on 4 boats yesterday, and that's almost doubling the total for May so far. But the numbers this year compared to last year still drastically down. Up until this weekend, down 44% compared to last year. The government would say that shows their plan is working, but with this hot weather continuing, likely the numbers arriving going to tick up throughout today and tomorrow.
Right, William Godley, crunching the numbers, watching the boats. Thank you very much for that report down in Dover. I'm joined now by former Immigration Minister Kevin Foster. Kevin, thanks very much for your time this afternoon. I know we've just heard from our reporter Will about how the arrivals are down on the same point last year. But many critics and indeed analysts and reporters will say, look, that's because of the weather, our main deterrent. And as soon as the weather improves, as it has done this weekend, winds are calm, the heat is up, a surge in crossings takes place. The current strategy from the government to stop the boats just isn't working at all.
No, and, you know, the sun's out, so the small boats are coming out. It's worth noting the arrival numbers at this time are actually similar to 2023, when in the end 30,000 people arrived throughout the year. So it'll be after the summer before you can really tell whether it was just really bad storms at the start of this year or actually any interventions that have been made into this situation have made much of a difference. But yeah, the current government's slogan, of course, is smash the gangs, although we're hearing that a little bit less now. But that was sadly not accompanied by a full strategy to deal with this issue. And until there is a comprehensive approach from, yes, law enforcement work to try and deal with the gangs, then dealing with people quickly when they arrive, and then, of course, crucially, removing people from the UK who have arrived by small boat. Until you have those 3 components in a comprehensive strategy, like we've seen in Australia, like we've seen in the United States, where they're trying to deal with similar problems, then I'm afraid virtually every sunny bank holiday, you know, we're going to be sat here discussing this.
Obviously, Kevin, the Conservative record on this process was a total shambles. One of the reasons why we're in this crisis today is that plans put forward by the Conservatives to deport asylum seekers and small boat migrants to Rwanda were never forced through by the Conservatives, couldn't get it over the line, didn't act with enough vigour, perhaps, to secure that proposal. But the current plan from the government includes this £600 million deal with the French authorities to give them more funding to increase the policing on their own territory. It's remarkable, isn't it, that we have to pay the French to police their own shores. But under the deal, the officers will be brought in to remove migrants from beaches, but it's been confirmed that they'll only stop boats at sea if they have fewer than 20 migrants on board. Clearly, the powers that they've got, and this is what we're seeing right now, people getting into these boats, as you can see, they very rarely have fewer than 20 on board. It's not going to go far enough to stop this process. We're seeing the Europeans moving more towards a third country deportation or relocation method. Do you think that eventually Labour might come round to Rwanda or something like it?
Yes, and let's be honest, the moment you put out a figure like they won't intercept a boat that's got more than 20 on, you can guarantee absolutely every boat will have at least 21 people on it. Look, Labour's have shifted quite a bit from the type of rhetoric they were coming out with 2 years ago. And I'd accept, Charlie, and I've said it before on this channel, that, you know, particularly Mr Sunak could have done with more of a strategy and slightly less on the slogans. But they would point to the fact that numbers were falling towards the general election and then started to rise afterwards, although we're down this year. But yeah, I think for some time we've seen Labour move, and they've started to talk about migrant hubs in the Balkans. But really, the big one is, what do you do with those who have come to the UK? You don't want them here, or you don't want them to come from a safe and democratic country where they could have claimed asylum to instead choose to claim asylum here. You can't realistically send them back to the country of their citizenship. You can't send them back to France because France says no as well. What's your answer then? That's when a third country solution. I've always wondered for some time whether we might hear Labour suddenly, you know, they're not doing Rwanda. Rwanda was a failed Tory plan. They can have a Central Africa plan instead that just happens to be a country called Rwanda. And we can see the US has picked it up. We can see even Germany's, I think, looked at this model as well, because all countries are facing these same challenges as the same international law is being gamed by people who are fundamentally economic migrants, using legislation that was mostly drawn up in the 1950s and early 1960s, dealing with a very different era and very different concerns about what had happened during the Second World War.
Yep, Kevin, you say they are mostly economic migrants. Obviously, there's ongoing assessment on the build-up of those on small boats coming across. I say small boats, some of them are rather large now, aren't they? There's also recently some concerning coverage about many of the people on these vessels illegally crossing into the country being former soldiers from Iran and Iraq. Lots of concern being raised. And also the proposals from the government, people are saying not doing enough to secure removals fast enough. Labour government, for their part, they say they have sped up deportations. They point to that decline in crossings so far this year. But Kevin Foster, former immigration minister, as we keep being told here on GB News, it's more about the weather than any other deterrent. Kevin, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Right, it's 17 minutes past 2. Let's move on now, because trail hunting was introduced after the Hunting Act in 2004 as an alternative to fox hunting, using animal-scented trails for hounds to follow. Well, Labour pledged to ban the practice in its 2024 manifesto, but organisations are now lobbying MPs to oppose the move, warning that it could put 1,000 rural jobs at risk. Well, our reporter Anna Riley has this report.
Hounds. Bred for trail hunting, there's 12,000 across England and Wales. The packs are trained to follow an animal-based scent, followed by riders on horseback. But with the rural sport at risk of being banned, their future is under threat, along with the jobs of huntsmen who devote their lives to the hounds.
I've only ever known this job, and it'd be like putting me in a big wide world. It just doesn't affect me. It's a family down through you know, having things that's just like getting a carpet pulled from underneath you.
It would be devastating to the hounds, to the people, to the communities, to the rural businesses, to my business personally. I mean, you know, this isn't my real job. I'm a farrier by trade. 60% of my work are hunt horses. I do think they have bigger priorities than coming at the countryside again and coming at trail hunting.
Could you just trot him up, please?
Horses hunt alongside hounds, and their care helps keep vets in business.
From the veterinary profession perspective, we are in challenging times at the moment. People don't have the spare money to spend on healthcare for their animals that they would do ordinarily. And in addition to that, a ban on trail hunting would take away quite a significant part of our revenue stream.
Rural pubs across the country also benefit from the custom of hunts. The Black Horse in Kirby Fleetham has welcomed the Beedale hunt since the 1800s.
The pub, the hunt, we work together in a way. We stop rural isolation. Pubs are closing every single day. We're one of the only places still left. If you just look at the village itself, we've got no school left, we've got no shop. We're the only local pub still surviving, and we've got the hunt, which is a social gathering. We're like the last men standing.
The Countryside Alliance opposes the trail hunting ban and has launched a campaign to urge MPs to vote against it.
Trail hunting's worth £100 million to the rural economy. That's not an insignificant sum. There is no need to legislate any further. The Hunting Act is enforceable. We've got over 200 packs of hounds acting legitimately, going out, doing what they should be doing, what the government asked us to do more than 20 years ago. Leave us alone.
The government consultation on how to implement the trail hunting ban ends in less than a month. Until then, those whose livelihoods depend on it will continue the push to keep this British custom. Anna Riley, GB News.
Thanks, Anna. I'm sure that's one that will divide opinion. Do get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. Always keen to hear perspectives on hunting. That usually gets people going. Right, it's 21 minutes past 2. That means it's time now for the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to grab £76,543.21 in tax-free cash in time for the summer. Here are all of the details you need to make it yours.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. That is extra cash that you could use to buy those treats you've always wanted, put a new car on the drive, or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. £76,543 and 21 pence is an incredible amount of money, and it could be all yours. For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, folks. While you're with me, Charlie Peters, on the weekend on GB News. And there's lots more coming up on today's show. We're going to be talking about what former Health Secretary Anna Milburn has said about young people being trapped on benefits instead of being helped into work. Do they need help getting into work, or has the welfare system just failed a generation? All of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to The Weekend with me, Charlie Peters. It's 26 minutes past 2, and we're discussing now this intervention from the former Health Secretary Alan Milburn, who said that the state has failed young people by pushing them onto benefits instead of work. Well, a government review found that spending on youth welfare is 25 times higher than support to help young people get jobs. So, we're asking, are young people being trapped on benefits? Well, joining me now is a political commentator at Young Voices UK. That's Ted Newson. Ted, good afternoon. Hope you're enjoying this sunny bank holiday. Great to have your company today. What do you make then of Alan Milburn's statement? Is it perhaps, what I think it is, a very clever intervention from the Labour man to push the government towards welfare reform?
Well, I absolutely think he's right that young people are trapped on benefits. They're struggling right now. I mean, there's no job opportunities. I think in every grad role, 140 people apply. So, I mean, it's as simple as a supply and demand issue. Too many people are going to university. There's massive qualification inflation where there's just not the jobs for them. And quite frankly, the government gets in the way by constantly trying to up the minimum wage or up what jobs have to do. I mean, this whole make tax digital thing, I've heard a lot of small business owners referring to it as make tax difficult, because all it's doing is putting a stick in their spokes and, well, slowing down business. And when business slows down, young people get less opportunities. I mean, young people start out working at a bar or a pub or somewhere like that. These places aren't hiring. They're actually closing down because Rachel Reeves is hammering them with tax at every opportunity. And for young people, what are they going to do? Go on to benefits. Bit of money from the States, better than nothing.
Well, Ted, obviously Rachel Reeves, Chancellor, says that her ambition is to go for growth and improve the British economy. But at the same time, we are seeing a surge in young people claiming mental health benefits, long-term sickness and disability. I think you're pointing out one of the main problems we've got here is it's becoming easier to claim universal credit and disability benefits than it is to find a job, in part because those typical roles that you're talking about, waiting tables, working at a bar, working at a cafe, they are becoming more rare because national insurance is going up. We're also seeing business rates go up, the minimum wage going up. It's becoming harder to run a business and offer those jobs. And also, Ted, don't you think there's a problem with mass immigration reducing the work opportunities for those young people as well?
Yeah, well, you certainly think, going back to just the supply and demand part of it, if you've got people coming into the country to do the lower paid jobs, to deliver food on a bike or something like that, that's a job that you've taken away from a British person. So absolutely there is that involved with it. I mean, I live in a seaside town. I live in Clacton-on-Sea, actually. And there's nothing for young people. They're so let down. And it's endemic in the system because once businesses don't have confidence to do business in a place that's at the end of the railway line, you're away from big cities, they're not going to do business there. And when there's no businesses, there's no jobs, and it turns into a vicious cycle where there's generational unemployment, generational poverty, that's only going to be solved by the government pumping even more money in. I mean, if they got out in the first place, maybe we'd see a bit more growth that's organic.
Of course, Ted, the government say that they've got an economic black hole that they need to fill. They've got difficulty with borrowing. But one thing they're spending rather a lot of money on, of course, is looking after small boat migrants, making that a legal crossing, putting them up in asylum hotels and also in dispersal accommodation. You know, Migration Watch, the think tank, they found that the average asylum seeker costs the taxpayer around £350,000 over the course of their lifetime. Could there not be an argument from government to reduce that cost, put an end to that practice, and instead use that to liberate business rates or national insurance and get more young people into work?
Absolutely. We do need to get a massive handle on immigration. If we can use the savings we get from deporting people or saving money on hotels and put that into taking the pressure off of businesses, absolutely we should. But at the moment, young people are being let down. I feel so sorry for my poor sister who's having to go to university not knowing what she wants to do. I mean, what kind of a world is she going to graduate into where, like I say, 140 people are applying for every single graduate job? The demand is so massive compared to the supply. So, yes, if Rachel Reeves can take her foot off the throat of small businesses and actually help them run by mainly just getting out of the way and making things simpler, which she says she wants to do, hopefully we're going to get to a stage where the young people are going to get employed. Because look, youth unemployment's over 16%, and we need to work that out because that's a symptom of a very sick economy.
OK, Ted Newsom, political commentator at Young Voices UK. Thank you very much for your input this afternoon. Well, you're with me, Charlie Peters, on GB News. Plenty more coming up on today's show. But first, let's cross over to Sophia Wenslet for your latest news headlines.
Charlie, thank you. Your headlines at 2:32. There could be good news on the Strait of Hormuz within hours, according to the US Secretary of State. It comes after US President Donald Trump said last night that an agreement with Iran has been largely negotiated, including reopening the key shipping lane. Meanwhile, here in the UK, Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed the apparent progress towards a long-term US-Iran agreement. GB News can reveal that over 900 small boat migrants have now arrived illegally since Friday. It's as more than 200 made the crossing today as calm weather continues. 3 new cases of Ebola have been declared in Uganda, bringing the total number of confirmed cases there to 5. It comes as the Democratic Republic of Congo's football team and staff have been told to isolate before travelling to the US for the World Cup. Get your sun cream at the ready as we're in for the hottest day of the year so far. Yesterday marked the first time since 2012 that temperatures hit 30 degrees in May, and it's not about to cool down anytime soon. Those are the headlines for now. Aaron Armstrong will have more for you in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Sophia, who I'm sure is off out now to enjoy the sun. And please do remember to get in touch and let me know your views on all of the top stories we're discussing today. gbnews.com/your say. What do you make of what we've just heard from Ted Newsom about young people needing a bit more opportunity and help to get into the workplace? He was speaking to us from Clacton, a seaside town. Of course, our seaside towns have been affected so much by the downturn in the economy. Are we going to see an uptick now, though, potentially, with it getting harder to go on holidays overseas amid this Strait of Hormuz kerfuffle? Could we see more people heading back to our gorgeous seaside towns, particularly with this beautiful weather. And what can we do to get more young people working if that's the case? Let me know, gbnews.com/your say. But look, loads more coming up on the programme today. We're going to be crossing back to Washington, D.C. There was a shooting near the White House last night while Donald Trump was inside, and that was while the US president was also claiming that a peace deal with Iran is now largely negotiated. The Iranians, they're saying otherwise, as is often the case. Well, all of that and much more to come. I'm Charlie Peters, and you are watching GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the hot and sunny weather continues for most of the UK once again today. High levels of UV, so strong sunshine for many, but a different story in the far northwest. Here we have this wiggling weather front bringing some cloud and outbreaks of rain for the northwest of Scotland. High pressure dominates though across the rest of the UK, and that means it will be a fine day to come once again, with the exception perhaps some Irish Sea coast where we'll see just a little bit of low cloud lingering into this afternoon, possibly on some of our coastlines. Blue skies though and strong sunshine elsewhere across England, Wales, southern Scotland and most of Northern Ireland. Temperatures higher than yesterday, 32 degrees in the southeast of England, but the high 20s quite widely elsewhere across England and Wales. Now, it is a different story across more northern parts of Scotland. Here we do have much more in the way of cloud, still a fairly brisk southwesterly breeze across the Hebrides, so outbreaks of rain, quite a damp picture actually across the Highlands and the islands as we go through the course of today, and even so into the evening as well. We will run into much sunny conditions though across the south of Scotland, Northern Ireland and the bulk of England and Wales, so a fine, warm and sunny evening to come here. Light winds, but some refreshing sea breezes perhaps around the coast. Do take care in that strong sunshine as it will be quite hot for the time of year. Through this evening and overnight it stays dry and clear for the most of the UK, and temperatures won't fall very far at all, possibly not falling below 20 degrees Celsius, which we determine as a tropical night. Quite unusual and very unusual for May. So temperatures remaining in the mid to high teens for many, and quite a warm start to the day on Monday. Now, we still have this weather front bringing some outbreaks of rain and much thicker cloud across the very far northwest of Scotland. That's not going to go very far at all on Monday, but for most of the UK it's going to be another sunny and very hot day once again. Temperatures even higher than today, 34 Celsius in the southeast of England, probably the warmest day on record for May.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Weekend with me, Charlie Peters, sitting in for Dawn Neeson, who's finally getting a proper break. Well, there could be some good news on the Strait of Hormuz within hours, according to the US Secretary of State. Speaking to reporters during his visit to New Delhi, Marco Rubio said that significant progress had been made on the situation in Iran. Well, this comes after the US President Donald Trump said last night that an agreement with Iran had been largely negotiated, including on reopening that key shipping lane. Well, joining me now is the American political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, thank you very much for your company this afternoon. Obviously, the Iranians have hit back on these claims, saying that they're not quite ready to announce an agreement. What can we make about the statements we've heard from the American side, though?
Well, this is, I think, a breakthrough. There has been an impasse between the two sides for quite some time, and now it appears that there are negotiations taking place in earnest that will eventually find a way, many hope, to end both the blockade that the United States has on Tehran, as well as allowing Tehran to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which is, as we know, more than 20% of energy goods actually pass through. And so what we're seeing now is, while we don't have the actual details of an agreement, there is now beginning to be some pushback. However, what we have seen is President Donald Trump has spoken with a number of the key proponents throughout the Middle East who have seemingly agreed to this deal. Now, we know earlier or late last week, there was a very tense conversation that took place between President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But now it appears he too is on the side of this agreement. So President Donald Trump now seems to be heading towards a deal. We do know that right now there is some pushback from a number of Senate Republicans about the deal. But again, I think it's still too early to begin to criticize or attack the agreement when we still don't know exactly what's in it.
And Eric, we can't be sure what's in it. I know you're in DC right now, a lot of focus on what this might mean from a security perspective. What will it mean for the thousands of mobilized American service personnel in the region? But for most of the world, the main focus is on that key shipping lane, the Strait of Hormuz. And I imagine one of the concerns that the US president will have is he doesn't want a looming economic catastrophe ahead of the midterms later this year. So while it's an international focus, it's a big issue for the United States as well. How critical is the Strait of Hormuz as part of the American negotiations? Because I know that Trump and Rubio, they've played down the strait to some degree, saying that the Americans don't need it as much, but really the global economy does rely very much on that lane being open.
That's true. And because oil is a global commodity, it doesn't matter that the United States has an enormous amount of oil. If the prices are somehow impacted, that also is going to impact Americans, which is why this war is so unpopular at home. In fact, polls show that it is the worst war in history for the United States. And so what we're seeing right now is this would certainly, I think, be a massive boon to the global economy. And President Donald Trump can, if in fact he can find a way out of this war, be able to begin the process of restoring his bruised political approval ratings, which we're seeing right now is not only shaping his presidency, but also his party as they look ahead to the midterm elections.
And Eric, as they look ahead and as they are sort of considering the ramifications of this deal and the ongoing conflict for the midterm elections, there are also major questions about what this American geostrategy might mean for us here in the United Kingdom. Obviously, it's not just oil that's affected by this. It's supply chains for so many sectors, food as well, and chemicals, and many other areas. The whole world is essentially watching to see how their economies might fare according to what Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, and whoever is in charge in Iran can come up with.
You're absolutely correct. In fact, we know right now, from a security perspective, the United States, for example, has delayed a $14 billion military aid package to Taiwan. And one of the reasons for that delay is because the United States has experienced a massive drawdown on its own munitions. And so what we're seeing here is the United States is unable to meet the demands and its agreements on security, not only in terms of Taiwan, but also in Japan. So what we're seeing here is this is having a massive impact on the United States' ability to honor its agreements, to provide security to its partners and allies, as well as allowing for that crucial shipping lane open so many of those goods can actually pass through, which we see are having a massive, massive hindrance on the economies of many nations across the globe.
Okay, Eric Ham, US political analyst, thank you very much for your insight this afternoon. And there will be big questions for us here in Britain about what role we play in terms of Royal Navy ships, Royal Air Force assets to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. One of you getting in touch on gbnews.com/yours saying, will we see Starmer trying to take credit for negotiations? Or we are part of a French-British alliance on looking at a maritime security process in the Strait if the conditions become right where we might be required. So far, it seems we only have one destroyer available to be deployed. Might that change? Let's find out soon, I imagine. Right, you're with me, Charlie Peters, on GB News. Coming up on the show, it's a bank holiday heatwave. We'll be checking out the scorching sunshine weather outside. I'll be very jealous of all of you who are enjoying it. But first, if you are, for whatever reason, in search of some holiday sun beyond these beautiful British Isles, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading to the Mediterranean for the half-term holidays, don't forget to pack the sun cream and sun hat, because there's plentiful amounts of sunshine right across the board, courtesy of high pressure that's in charge, much like here in the UK. The one exception to the rule is further towards the east. There are some heavy showers lingering around parts of Greece, but more especially so into Turkey, though those will tend to ease off as we head towards the middle part of the week, and really is sunshine that's going to be the main prevailing factor.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Retracing old steps. Paul Terry fought here in the Netherlands during World War II when he was just a teenager. Now, aged 100, he's returned to pay his respects to those he served alongside and to remember those who didn't make it back home.
I am one of the lucky ones, and it's an honour to come back and to be able to salute these brave men that fought and gave their lives. It gives me great pleasure and honour to be back amongst them, it really does.
There are 1,625 British World War II soldiers buried here. Many of them died while fighting in Operation Market Garden, a crucial fight for the Bridge of Arnhem, just a few miles away from here, seen as a key route into Germany and crucial for defeating the Nazis.
Large parts of Holland greeted the Allied troops as the armies swept on.
The British World War II veterans are brought here by the taxi charity for military veterans. They've driven them here from England in black cabs.
It's important for remembrance and to learn the stories of the people, of the veterans that were there. It's a generation you're never going to see again, the people we owe so much to. So for me, just to bring them here is just a small way of saying thank you.
At the Airborne Division's own cemetery, Holland and Britain joined in a more personal tribute, visiting the resting places so long tended with loving care.
Remembrance events at the Arnhem War Graves have taken place for the last 81 years.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Weekend with me, Charlie Peters, and we are, of course, in for a scorcher today. It's only expected to get hotter tomorrow as well, because today it's going to be the warmest day of the year, according to many predictions. Temperatures rising above 30 degrees in some parts of the country, and tomorrow, temperatures in the southeast of England are expected to reach 33 degrees. We're not in the southeast of England now, though. We're in Northern Ireland with our reporter Dougie Beattie, who joins us from County Down, where the wonderful Dougie Beattie has been topping up his suntan. Dougie, take it away.
Well, it wouldn't take too much to top up my suntan. Us Irish are very, very pale. There's no doubt about that. Look at that, Charlie. You know, just above the shirt line, we are totally white. We never see the sun, but when we do, we come out in our thousands. And Newcastle, County Down today is doing exactly that. Thousands have arrived in this Sunday afternoon to soak up the sunshine. But on this side of me here, on my left-hand side, the beach. It's hardly anybody on it. I'll just give you a quick look, Charlie. Yep, and that's because the water out there is still very, very cold. We've only had a couple of days of heat, and the Irish Sea can be absolutely freezing. But we talked about it earlier on. I'll just give you a quick look at what we're looking at here. There is the mountains of Mourne in behind you that just surround Newcastle in County Down. Now, this is a big family location, and I tell you, it is a family location. I mean, all day I've been watching people with their families, grandmothers, grandfathers, parents, children, up and down this beautiful promenade behind us. Really, really enjoying the day out, eating lots of ice cream, lots of fish and chips, and spending time in the amusements. Now, of course, with this weather being the way it is, it's good news for another island that is just about 20 miles towards Britain from me here, so east of me now, and that will be the Isle of Man, because the TT, of course, practices start on Monday. It is a massive tourist money-making scheme for the Isle of Man, and of course when the weather is like this, it will be absolutely packed, and that will go on for 2 weeks. Practices all this week till Saturday, then the Isle of Man TT goes, and there are quite literally hundreds and hundreds of motorcycles in Newcastle today, some of them coming down from as far as Portrush, across that Antrim coastline, beautiful volcanic coastline, right down through Belfast and on down before arriving here in Newcastle. So a great day out here, lots going on, and families really having a fun day.
Dougie, we were together on a course down in Pembrokeshire in Wales about a month or so ago, weren't we? And you were teasing me relentlessly for always wearing my sunglasses, even when it was a bit cloudy. Have you brought a pair of sunnies with you today? You're looking quite robust there in the glorious sunshine. No sunnies?
No.
Oh, he's made of sterner stuff.
No sunglasses. I mean, what can I say? I'm looking straight at the sun. Actually, that's where the camera's this way around and not that way around. But no, Charlie, I'm sterner stuff than you. Us Irish, Scottish, Welsh, made of sterner stuff.
Oh yes, well, us English, we do just like looking quite smart, don't we? All right, Dougie. He does his own camera work. He stares into the sun. It's a masterclass. Thank you, Dougie Beattie, live from County Down. Well, look, it's been a pleasure having your company here. You've been with me, Charlie Peters, on GB News, sitting in for Don Neeson, who I'm sure is back next weekend. Thanks for watching, but don't go anywhere, because Christo Fufas is filling in for Nana Akua next. Christo, what's coming up in your show?
Yes, from one hard act to follow to another, because not only do I have to follow your act, Charlie, but I've got to keep the seat warm for Nana Akua. And we've got loads coming up. We're going to be crossing live to get the latest on the small boats. We'll be talking tax, live to Washington, and of course panel debates too, all next here on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, the hot and sunny conditions are set to continue through the next few days. Indeed, we are likely to see record-breaking temperatures for May. But it is a different story across the very far northwest of the UK. Here we have a weak, wiggling weather front affecting the northwest of Scotland, but you see this dome of high pressure bringing the fine and hot conditions elsewhere in the UK. So a fine evening to come, sunny conditions across many parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, England and Wales, and temperatures only very slowly falling away. So a warm night to come, indeed Temperatures perhaps not falling below 20 degrees Celsius in some of our bigger urban areas, so very unusual for May. Something a little bit cooler further north, temperatures perhaps dipping down into high single figures locally, but a dry and clear night to come for the vast majority. Across the northwest of Scotland, though, we'll continue to see cloud and outbreaks of rain continuing across the northwest. So here a little bit breezy as well in the northwest, and I think there will be quite a bit of low cloud coming into the Western Highlands. So a damp start to the day on Monday for the islands and Western Scotland. Otherwise, though, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, England and Wales will get off to a blue sky and sunny start to the day on Monday, and it's going to be an even hotter day to come for many compared to over the weekend. So temperatures rapidly rising in that strong May sunshine. Do take precautions if you are out and about enjoying your bank holiday Monday, because the sunshine is very strong, very high levels of UV. And there will be quite a bit more in the way of pollen across the south of the UK by the afternoon as well. Temperatures reaching a high of 34 degrees Celsius in London, which is likely to be a new record for May for the UK. A bit cooler, but still warm further north across the UK. Temperatures into the low 20s for many parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, as we go into the middle to latter part of the week, we could just see that heat spark one or two isolated thunderstorms across England and Wales on Tuesday and Wednesday, and one or two extra showers perhaps in places on Thursday. Temperatures might fall away slightly later in the week, but staying very warm.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now.
and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hit me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GBNews family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again. You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hello, afternoon, welcome to GB News on your TV and on your digital radio on this glorious sunny day. I'm Christo Fupas covering for Queen Nana Akua for the next few hours. Myself, my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. Joining me for the next 3 hours, we've got two political commentators, Jonathan Liss and Aman Bogle, both here. They'll be telling us about the 200 migrants who've arrived in small boats today as migrants make